Waterwight, Book 1, Chapter 30. Listen, Celeste said the word aloud while walking to the precipice. After leaving Old Man Massive, she decided to take her time on her way back to the village in the south. She would walk and think and listen. Everything she'd done since running away from the children's home had been done frantically and had gotten her nowhere. It was time to slow down. Listen, she said again, straining her ears for a clue. She could hear her soft footfall on the ash-covered hillside and an occasional loosed stone tumbling away. She could hear critters scurrying among the bramble and small birds taking flight. She could hear the blood beating in her ears as she labored up the steep incline, and this, more than anything, surprised her. When she flew, her energy was boundless. She sensed the weight of her pack and the burning of muscles in her legs, and somehow it felt good. But nothing she heard enlightened her. Standing at the precipice, she recalled the dream of her parents standing just where she stood, waving to her, in the rainbow in the mist from below. She listened. Nothing. There was nothing for her here. Hello? She called over the edge, wondering if another magical creature might be lurking below, just waiting to hear her voice and help her, as Teresa's doves had done. But nothing. It was time to fly again. But instead of flying straight across, she followed the path she'd first taken, straight down the cliffside until she reached the ground. The last time she'd done that, the ground was soggy, but still visible. Now she couldn't see the earth beneath the water, and the smell had not abated. But something else was different. Although she recognized the odor of rotting eggs, an odor that had nauseated her in the past, she no longer found the smell offensive. Instead, it reminded her of Sunday breakfasts with her parents. As she slowed her flight to within inches of the water, the aroma became significantly more alluring. And then she heard it. The enchanting word song she had discounted before as a dream echoed clearly in her ears. It was a small child's voice making up a sing-song melody with invented words, and it made her smile. She hummed along with the hypnotic tune. No one ever sang anymore. Celeste reached to touch the water's surface as she flew along, heedless of her direction, and the child's voice giggled. Listen, she said aloud, and giggled along with the ethereal child. I hear you. Who are you? Where are you? I am... Celeste wanted to call out her name, but something held her back. She continued to fly mindlessly, a sense of euphoria speeding her across the steamy, silvery pink expanse. She had no idea she was heading in a direction far from Artesia. The miles passed below her as she giggled and hummed along with her nameless friend. When the sun spread its last rays across the water, casting a rainbow in the misty atmosphere, she could see a wall of squishy water rise to her front, filled with shimmering tunnels. The closest one beckoned her, and fearlessly, she flew into it. As if on a roller coaster water slide, she careened through the hole in the water, rising and falling with the shifting wave as it traveled to the shore until finally she emerged on the other side, washed up on a soggy beach. Celeste gazed around. She didn't recognize any of the features surrounding her, but walked away from the shoreline, following the child's lilting voice. "I'm listening," Celeste called to the invisible child, "but I don't understand." She chuckled when she spoke. She didn't really care that she couldn't understand. She had never felt so joyful, so childlike. She followed the voice as far as it wanted to take her. Soon, or long after she started walking, all notion of time was lost on her, and the sky held neither sun nor moon nor stars. She came upon a spectacular creation, a castle made of sand and seashells, towering above her and expanding as far to either side as she could see. It took her breath away. Sheets of seaweed fashioned a front door and tickled her when she passed through, and once on the other side, hallways in every direction beckoned her to explore. Humming the child's tune, she skipped and slipped along the first hallway, its floors made of giant kelp leaves, and peeked into rooms along the way. She felt like she was 10 again, or perhaps 6. In one room, a large swing set like the one she had growing up stood in the center, its swing rocking gently as if someone had just jumped off. The metal was rusted, but Celeste didn't care. She ran to it and hopped on, pumping her feet until she thought she might fly. The thought troubled her for a moment, but she didn't know why and let it pass. In the next room, piles of plastic building blocks bid her to create her own castle. They were slippery, covered in a fine layer of algae, and she sat and stacked, laughing each time a block squirted from her grip until all the blocks came together in a sprawling cityscape. The next room would be her favorite. Piled high on benches of packed sand were books and books and books. But if she stayed to open one, she'd never finish exploring her beautiful new home, and so she moved along after carving a huge star with her finger on the sand wall outside the room. She wanted to find it quickly when she finished her tour. Room after room summoned her to visit and play, rooms with toys and musical instruments and jungle gyms, and she was only in the first of many hallways. She wanted to find the happy, laughing child hiding in one of the rooms. But the next room troubled her. In it were piles of puzzle pieces, colorful and large. Feeling compelled to complete one, she gathered the stack of the first puzzle. She found the edge pieces first, lay them about on the slippery floor, and made fast work of completing the frame, matching color to color. It was difficult keeping the pieces together on the uneven surface. The next part took longer, as she struggled to find the interior pieces, having no box cover to show her what the final picture would be. The scene emerged slowly, an old-fashioned painting of a girl holding a book in one hand and in the other, on the final puzzle piece, a key. Celeste stared at the picture and frowned. Something nagged in the recesses of her mind, but she couldn't concentrate on the thought. The child's sing-song voice, still unintelligible, grew louder outside the room and distracted Celeste from her deliberation. She looked up, expecting to see a cute little face, and was happy again. Leaving behind the troublesome puzzle, she carved a large X on the wall outside the room. The hallway seemed to go on forever, and she was tired. She hadn't found anything looking like a bedroom, so she decided to return to the entryway and try another hallway. But when she backtracked, she couldn't find the front door. It didn't bother her. She could see another long hallway when she turned a corner. She was certain she'd find a place to rest. Humming happily, she walked along the new path until her senses were filled with a heavenly aroma. She could hear the sizzling and smell the hickory smoke of bacon wafting down the hall. And the thought of sleep was no longer a priority. And then she gasped. Her plump puppy ran to her from the far end of the hallway, his shaggy tail wagging so hard he could barely stay upright on the slippery leaves. "Ranger!" she questioned with joyful surprise. She ran to him halfway, catching him up in her arms, and reveled in his slobbery kisses. When he jumped from her arms and ran away from her down the narrow hallway, Celeste followed. The puppy ran all the way to the end of the hallway and through a seaweed-covered door, and when he re-emerged, he wasn't alone. Celeste slid to a stop just short of the doorway. "Mom? Dad?" An ocean away, a small dark cloud threw a shadow over Old Man Massive's eye, waking him from his slumber. His prickly brow furrowed. "Oh no, what has she done?" he whispered to the wind. That ends chapter 30 of book 1. It also ends part 1 of book 1. When you return, we will start book 2 or part 2 of book 1 of Waterwight.